Welcome, everyone. This is your host, John Jimenez, and this is episode number 5 of Make Lemonade. And today we'll be talking about reaching your dreams. Welcome to Make Lemonade, episode number 5. Today we're talking about reaching your dreams. And I am John, your host for today, and I'm going to be talking about 3 points that deal with reaching your dreams. And that is, number 1, your mind, number 2, patience, and number 3, knowledge. So these are things that we're going to hit, and we're going to do it real fast right now. So number 1, talking about the mind. Now, the mind is very, very important. Why do I say the mind? Because through the mind is really how we think, how we see, how our beliefs, everything runs through our minds. The way we move our fingers, the way we talk, literally everything that you see inserts into your mind, your memories, everything. One of the things that I learned in one of my classes, psychology, was that you never ever delete memories. They just go back, as an example, go back into a file, and you just keep on putting more memory and more memory and more. But technically, you never forget. So what I'm trying to say with this, your mind is so powerful in terms of reaching your dreams. Your mind is key to what you see, what you hear, and what you believe. Now, why I say those? Because those are things that in my own life, I had to change my mentality of the way that I think. And the way that I would think would be usually through what I would see, what I would hear, and what I would say. Now, I know those are very basic things, but trust me when I say this. If you don't get your basics down, when you go in advanced and there's something that you forget, you're going to have to go all the way back to your basics. And then it's going to be so frustrating for you because you've already done your basics. And the way that I explain this is the way that I learned it. When I was starting to play guitar, I had a church that literally gave us free guitar lessons for a week. And we had a professor come in and teach us for 1 week how to play guitar. And the one thing that kept, that stuck with me in my mind was this. The professor was telling me that one of the most important things was to get your basics down. And if you didn't get your basics down, that when, we would be in advance and there was something that was, that we needed to play, but we didn't get it in our basics, that we would have to go back and learn that piece. And it was going to be more frustrating. It was going to be frustrating because we would have to learn something, that we should have learned in the beginning. But now we're so advanced that something that is so easy is so frustrating and hard for one person, and it's time consuming. So instead of using that time that you wasted in the beginning, and now you're trying to use it when you're at an advanced level, it's going to be 10 times annoying for you to do, because now you have to go all the way back to where you started. And we know that in any video game that you play, you have one life, and if you die and you have to start the game all over again and without saving, that stinks. So, just a couple illustrations there so you can understand what's important about the mind and why is it important what you see, what you hear, and what you say. Those 3 things in your mind are very important. Why? Because what you see is going to really determine what you believe. And, this is not a research that I've proven. This is something that I have, proven through myself, because, when I see things, I'm inspired by them. And, it's one of the reasons why I don't watch scary movies or, movies that are, horror movies, because I don't want to be a part of that in my head. Now, this is my personal, belief. I don't want that images to be in my mind. Now, am I harming myself or helping? I really can't tell you that. But what I know is that the more positive, the more I, see, read information, knowledge, and all this stuff that I apply into my mind, the more I learn, the more open my mind comes to understanding. And now I get to do or have more opportunities to understand and have an experience that really, really will elevate my skills, me personally, as a character. And same thing goes with hearing. Whatever you hear, I know there's amazing music out there and all this stuff, but honestly, what you're listening to will determine the way you think. And again, this is not proven things, but these are things that I've gone through, that I've kept myself from, and have helped me out very, very much. And the third one is what you say. Of course, this is coming from a positive point of view. When you speak life, when you speak good things, instead of cursing somebody or or telling somebody bad things, and this is one of the reasons why I don't cuss. I refuse to stay away from cuss words, even in my mind, because sometimes you won't say it through your mouth, but in your mind, you would want to say something that is not appropriate. So that fight of keeping those things away from me really gives you a cleaner perspective of life. And it brings me to the point of elevating yourself and motivating yourself is really important with your own words, again, because what you hear and what you see will determine a lot of who you are as a person. Okay, so that is number one, the mind. Patience is very important, because in this society we have grown up, or if you're just growing up, you're a baby, you're a teenager, or in the future as a baby you're going to be listening to this podcast, and a teenager, you're my age right now, or you're older, you're growing up right now with technology that is growing in an unbelievable speed. And literally, like, every day or every month we have something new coming out. I mean, either a car, a phone, something new technology, some new medicine. I mean, our technology is just growing like crazy. And due to those things, or to quick success, that we think people have quick success, but again, that's another topic. We want to do things like super fast. And again, let me remind you, we're talking about reaching your dreams. We want to do things super fast. We want to have things now. That is the society that we live in, having things now. We want to stream a movie, a show, want to do like a whole a show in one day. I mean, we want to see everything already. We want to have everything already, and we would do almost anything to have that. And this is where patience comes to mind, because when you're reaching your dreams, it takes patience to get there. See, many people think that, it's an overnight success, that, rich people have, gotten there, but they don't see the time that it took them to get there. They don't see the time that, the time that they felt depressed because they didn't have, the money to pay their bills or something. One of the things that, people talk a lot of trash about Trump, but when he was saying that he was, millions or billions of dollars in debt, and he told his daughter that, a poor man was sitting down there on the floor, and he told his daughter that, hey, look, I'm poorer than that man. And I was thinking about it. Of course, I'm paraphrasing. I was thinking about that, what he said, and I was thinking, even if you have $1 or $2 or $10 in your pocket, versus someone who is a negative, 1 and like 6 zeros, or 7 or 8, 10 zeros, you're actually richer than that person, because that means that person is in debt that much. And I'm thinking, and I'm like, doesn't matter, how many zeros, but if a negative is in the front, that person is beyond poor, right? And but my point to this is this: time to build your skills, time to build your character is very, very important. See, I don't know if you ever heard this, but patience equals virtue, which means character. It builds your character. It builds who you are as a person, and that takes patience, because when you go into a job work or you become, your owner of a CEO, if you were 16 years old and you automatically became CEO of your own company, now if you weren't as mature, I'm talking about just the average Joe, do you think that you would let somebody run a Fortune 500 company and be like 6 years old, 14 years old, 16 years old, and run that, and everything's going to be okay? Now, of course, there's many, many things that go on, with, running something. You have people who are helping you out. You have people who are doing so things to make that happen. It's not impossible, but my point to this is that you have some growing to do. You have some learning to do, and that takes time. It takes time to figure out who you are. It takes time to build a business. It takes time to get to the place that you want to be. For me, for example, I'm a filmmaker. I want to be like, my inspiration is Steven Spielberg, right? And my inspiration to be like him is like, man, I want to be like you. But then when I see the way he got there, it took him 11 years. It took him to the age of I believe it was 18 or 20, one of those two age, when he had already graduated from university, got in his master's as a filmmaker, and then was hired right after his college to make films, and which was his first movie, the Jaws movie. And but the things that we don't see, because that's a great story, it's like, hey, he went to school for 4 to 6 years and he became a filmmaker. But wrong. Did you know that when Spielberg was a kid, his mom would literally take him out of school and take him to, I don't know, I believe it was a beach or something, to make a movie? I mean, literally, we think that in our heads, and you think about it, is what I'm trying to say. And you imagine, you're like, that is crazy. Why would I take my kid out just to go shoot a film? But that was investment. Sometimes, I'm not saying take your kid out, drop him out of school so you can invest him. Look, he needed the practical learning. He needed the basics, and he needed to build his skills. That's why he went to college. That's why he went to school. But the main priority was filming for him. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, those are from being a kid and starting to film to being 20, 19 years old. That's a whole length of 20, 18 years of him practicing that practice and becoming who he is now, and all those years just gave him that practice, shooting films, filming. And I'm thinking, and I'm like, people who say they want to be like Steven Spielberg have quite a long way to go if you want to follow his blueprints. And so, I mean, if you want to be like somebody, you got to see the blueprints. You got to see their life and how they became that. Because if you think that you can become a filmmaker in just a year or a couple of months, I mean, it can happen. I'm not saying it can't. It's not impossible. That's what I'm not saying right now. What I'm saying is, if you want to have the same quality, the same experience, the same, I want to say tenacity as the person and the characteristics and the way that they shoot the film, then I would have to, if I was going to follow his blueprints, then I would have to know his early life and how he started and how he became what he is now. Does that make sense? And that's where patience comes to mind. Now, I'm going to go into knowledge, which patience just leads me right there. And, we're talking about Steven Spielberg and becoming really, wanting to become that or him. It takes knowledge. And one of the things that I mentioned in patience is when you don't have the skill of what you want to do or what you want to be, then it takes schooling. It takes time for you to go to school and train yourself in those areas to do it. Now, do you need school to go and get this knowledge? You don't. That's the honest truth. You don't need school to get that knowledge, because there is a bunch of books that you can learn filming from. There's a bunch of videos and a bunch of people giving master classes. I mean, you can literally educate yourself, but again, that's going to be you teaching your own self. And now through history, we've seen people who have taught themselves, one being Abraham Lincoln, who grew up teaching himself how to read, teaching, I believe, I'm not quoting here, but I believe that he was teaching I don't know if he taught his dad how to read, because I know his dad didn't know how to read, but anyways, but he had his stepmother to encourage him to really follow that process of education. And he ended up teaching himself law. He ended up teaching, that's when he became a lawyer. He started practicing all this stuff. What I'm trying to say is, having knowledge of what you want to be is very, very important. I remember when I was in high school or even elementary, because that's when they would say most of the things. They would say, you can be president of the United States. And now that is a far-fetched thing, that if you want to be president of the United States, then you got to go through, who they choose, how they elect the president. You have to learn all those things, and you have to be in the circle to be president. I mean, that sounds really terrible, but that's how our society right now in the area works. I don't know if you didn't know that, but what I'm trying to say is, if I want to become a doctor and I want to read my own books and I can do practices and learn how to become a doctor, but I don't have my licenses, I need certain things to become that, then that means that I would have to go to school. You become a filmmaker and do things. I mean, there's filmmakers who now are, amazing directors, and they didn't go to school, and so, I mean, there's very much opportunities, but you have to educate and teach yourself so that you can get to that point. You got to have what I like to call the knowledge to know, because I'm telling you, this may sound cheesy, but without knowledge, you will perish. If you don't know what you're doing and you're trying to do something in a particular field, but you have no idea, you will fail miserably. And it's not because you weren't good at it. It's just you didn't have the knowledge of what it took to get there, or to do what it is whatever you wanted to do. So today we're talked about reaching your dreams in the aspects of your mind. What you see, what you hear, and what you say are very important and crucial in reaching your dreams. Patience is key to reaching your dreams, because nowadays, so many things are happening so fast, and we want to get to that state, but when we get there, if we don't have patience to educate, learn ourselves, and see what we have to do to get there, then we will suffer a great amount, and we will have to go back to the beginning, and we would have a very, very irritating, annoying, and frustration of a life. And the last one was knowledge of what is it that you want to reach, what is the your dream that you want to accomplish and reach, and really be the best at it. What is key? Knowledge. You got to have knowledge of what it is that you want to do, your dream. What is it that your dream? You want to be a filmmaker, a photographer, a lawyer, a doctor, I mean, you name it. Anything you want, you can have. We live in a place, if you're hearing this from the United States, we live in a place that you have opportunities. But the opportunity comes from what you want to do. So, reach your dreams, and remember, you have to have your mind and what you see, what you hear, and what you say. Be patient and learn what you need to learn. And then knowledge. Make sure you know what you're doing. Guys, this was Make Limited episode number 5 and your host, John, and we are done for today. Thank you so much for being with us today. I hope that this encourages you and you gain some information and can reach your dream. And I hope that you have a great day. We see you later, or we'll talk to you later. Peace out.